There's a mysterious interstellar object hurtling towards our solar system, exciting scientists across the globe. While many think it's just a comet, some theorizing a possible alien origin due to a few curious characteristics.
For decades, humanity has peered into the vastness of the cosmos, not merely for distant planets or faint signals, but for anomalies. Those rare moments when something defies the established rules of the universe. Now it seems the James Webb Space Telescope has uncovered just such an enigma. What began as a routine observation of the third interstellar object ever recorded in our solar system, named 3I Atlas, has evolved into something far stranger, far darker, and infinitely more profound. Deep in the frigid expanse beyond Mars, the Webb telescope detected something it should not have, not just light, but artificial light. This glow behaved unlike any known comet or asteroid, exhibiting a signature that followed no established physics of reflection or refraction. This discovery has left astronomers and astrophysicists with a chilling question: are we alone? 3I Atlas was initially spotted as a faint speck on the outer edges of our solar system, tracing a trajectory that no local object could follow. It was undeniably interstellar, having originated beyond the Sun's gravitational pull, flung across the galaxy by an unknown force, and now silently drifting through our celestial neighborhood. Initially, it was treated as another cosmic curiosity, much like its predecessors, Oumuamua and Borisov. However, even in its earliest images, something seemed amiss. Unlike most interstellar objects, 3I Atlas exhibited an unusual, inexplicable brightness that did not correlate with its estimated size or composition. It shimmered with an unnatural consistency. Its brightness remained steady, neither fading as expected, nor flaring with signs of outgassing or dust release, typical of cometary activity. Traditional comets brighten in bursts as ice sublimes, but this object remained constant, as if powered from within. Telescopes worldwide turned their gaze towards it, and the James Webb Telescope, with its unparalleled infrared capabilities, was brought in to unravel the mystery. What the Webb Telescope revealed changed everything. Positioned 1,000,000 miles from Earth at the L2 point, designed to pierce through cosmic glare and uncover hidden truths, its scrutiny of 3I Atlas was expected to clarify the confusion. Instead, it amplified it. The telescope's instruments detected a centralized thermal emission that had no correlation with natural sunlight reflection. Typically, a comet glows from sunlight bouncing off its dust and ice, yet 3I Atlas showed an internal heat signature, radiating from its core outward. This wasn't scattered light, it was emitted light. The thermal mapping unveiled a pattern that defied natural distribution curves, pulsing faintly, irregularly, and, most disturbingly, cycling at intervals. This subtle, repeating rhythm strongly suggested design, not randomness. Initial explanations from scientists at NASA and the European Space Agency included radioactive decay, subsurface friction, or alien isotopes. However, as more data accumulated, these theories collapsed. Only one consistent yet unsettling explanation remained. This object might be powered. As data from Webb, Hubble, and terrestrial observatories piled up, a profile of 3I Atlas began to emerge, one that bore no resemblance to any known celestial body. Its trajectory was too precise, not chaotic, as if it were deliberately choosing its path, subtly adjusting course through gravitational wells. Its rotation was unnaturally stable, with a tumbling motion that defied standard inertial drift. Furthermore, it lacked a cometary tail, even when nearing solar radiation, suggesting a protective shell or casing. Then came the most controversial finding. The albedo, or reflectivity of its surface, was measured to be nearly perfect in certain areas, almost like polished metal, not rock, ice, or dust. These implications sent shockwaves through the astronomical community. If it was metallic, structured, and emitting energy, it was no longer a natural object, it was technology. Whispers of probe, beacon, craft, and artifact began to circulate in scientific hallways. The idea that this might be an alien spacecraft was no longer confined to conspiracy theories. It was now a quiet, unsettling certainty in institutional emails protected by encrypted firewalls. Perhaps the most damning evidence wasn't the thermal emissions, the trajectory, or the metallic signature, but the light itself. Photometric analysis revealed something truly chilling. The light emanating from 3I Atlas was focused in a narrow spectrum band, not a broad natural reflection of sunlight, but a controlled emission of specific wavelengths, exactly what humans use in LED arrays, laser communication, and spacecraft beacons. This band included frequencies commonly used in Earth's communication and guidance systems. Even more remarkably, the light intensity seemed to respond slightly to solar radiation, as if an onboard system was adjusting it in real time, flickering with a strange intermittent pulse, not at random. Astronomers ran the data through known signal models, yielding inconclusive but not meaningless results. Some proposed binary sequences, others a rotating power source. The undeniable conclusion was that this was not a passive object, it was doing something, deliberately, and we were watching it live. As more data flooded in, astrophysicists from MIT and Harvard performed deep signal analysis on the electromagnetic emissions. At first, the frequencies appeared random, like scattered noise, but Fourier transforms applied to isolate cyclical patterns revealed something profound. Buried within the static, a structured, repeating pulse emerged, too precise to be natural. It wasn't a standard binary or a typical human modulation, but it bore the unmistakable fingerprint of intentional encoding. Some speculated it could be a beacon, a broadcast for non-earthly receivers. Others theorized it was telemetry, a constant data stream sent back to its origin point. The unsettling part was that the message, whatever it was, had not changed since the Webb telescope first detected it. It was as if 3I Atlas wasn't communicating with us, but with someone else, and that someone else might have already received its message. News of this discovery spread rapidly through the highest echelons of scientific and defense institutions. A confidential report circulated within NASA, then leaked to an unnamed journalist, revealing the top officials were already coordinating with global space agencies to determine if 3I Atlas posed a threat. Some scientists argued it was benign, perhaps an ancient probe on a pre-programmed route through the stars. Others were less optimistic, raising unanswerable questions. If it transmits, who is receiving? If it emits light, does it have propulsion? If it's by design, why now? The report even mentioned the remote possibility that 3I Atlas wasn't just passing through, but observing and tracking planetary alignments, electromagnetic fields, or even advanced civilizations. This possibility ignited panic behind the scenes. If this object wasn't alone, then something else, perhaps its sender, might be on its way. Further investigation into 3I Atlas's luminosity led to a revolutionary hypothesis. The object wasn't just emitting energy, it was harvesting it. The way its light output fluctuated with solar proximity, combined with the apparent lack of chemical reactions, supported the idea that it might be using a solar collection array or a photonic absorption system embedded beneath its surface. A group of theorists postulated that the dust cloud around the object served a dual function, both camouflage to mask its artificial structure and a medium to absorb solar radiation. If true, this suggested 3I Atlas was a self-sustaining craft designed for indefinite deep space travel, refueling itself star to star. This concept aligned with theoretical models of interstellar probes, machines that could remain dormant for centuries, only activating when reaching a star system worth investigating. If our solar system triggered that activation, then the message had been received. As international space agencies scrambled for answers, one truth became increasingly clear: humanity was not ready. Despite decades of speculation about extraterrestrial contact, our systems, political, scientific, philosophical, were wildly unequipped to process what 3I Atlas might represent. No official statements were made, but leaked internal documents from agencies in France, Japan, and Brazil hinted at similar conclusions. This object was not just an anomaly, but a first encounter in slow motion. Unlike Hollywood's narratives, there was no landing, no sudden appearance, no immediate answers, only data, light, and silence. The Webb telescope continued to observe the object daily, yet every answer it provided seemed to generate two more questions. If this was contact, it was contact on their terms, not ours. Quiet, distant, unsettling. This might be the most terrifying aspect, for what we were witnessing might not be an invitation, but surveillance. We might have already been seen. Just when astronomers believed 3I Atlas had settled into a predictable trajectory, something unexpected happened. Its luminosity spiked dramatically. This wasn't a gradual increase due to solar proximity. It was a sudden flare, captured in real time by the James Webb and confirmed by several ground-based observatories. The object's brightness increased by nearly 40% in under 2 minutes, then stabilized at a new elevated level. No natural explanation fit the data. There was no sign of solar-wind interaction, no impact event, no fragmentation. It was as if someone or something had flipped a switch. The flare wasn't just visible, it carried a change in the object's thermal signature, almost as if systems had powered on. Theorists proposed a chilling possibility. This object had entered an awakened phase, triggered either by its proximity to our star or by our own observations. If this flare was intentional, it was meant to be seen. Shortly after the anomalous brightening, orbital calculations from multiple space agencies detected something else. 3I Atlas was no longer precisely following its projected path. It had shifted subtly, but measurably. Gravity alone couldn't account for the alteration. Even solar radiation pressure, often invoked as a scapegoat for small course changes in lightweight objects, didn't add up. This shift was deliberate, and more unsettling, the new trajectory pointed deeper into the solar system, with an adjusted inclination that brought it closer to Earth's orbital plane. The object was no longer just passing through. It had, in effect, changed lanes. Some scientists cautioned restraint, calling it a gravitational anomaly, but others saw the shift as a deliberate maneuver, a subtle course correction no comet or rock had ever made. If 3I Atlas was capable of even limited propulsion or navigation, it meant we were no longer observing a relic, but a vessel in motion, a vessel with intent. As the object passed within range of spectroscopic instruments aboard the Webb and Hubble telescopes, scientists detected elements and compounds that raised more red flags. Traces of highly reflective alloys, rare earth elements, and most shockingly, spectral absorption lines resembling compounds never before cataloged in our periodic table were detected. These were not materials found in a frozen chunk of interstellar rock. They were engineered, or at least synthesized under conditions unknown to exist naturally. One spectral profile matched no known chemical process, but closely resembled theoretical compounds proposed in quantum materials labs, substances thought to exist only under intense magnetic fields or quantum confinement. This discovery implied either unfathomable age, suggesting the object predated human civilization by millennia, or highly advanced recent manufacture by a civilization far beyond our own. The nature of the materials spoke louder than any signal. Even if we couldn't decode the message, the messenger itself was unnatural. With mounting evidence pointing to a non-natural origin, governments and agencies began reacting with unmistakable urgency, though not publicly. Encryption levels increased on observatory networks. Research teams were quietly reassigned. A sudden unexplained surge in satellite recalibrations was noted across multiple continents.
Spacefaring nations initiated discrete contingency discussions behind closed doors. One leaked document from an international defense consortium suggested that 3I Atlas might not be a lone visitor, but a scout. Its unusual structure, stable rotation, and apparent capability to remain operational across interstellar distances indicated a design consistent with long-term observation probes. But if it was scouting, what was it looking for? And more disturbingly, what might come next? Across universities, observatories, and military command centers, one terrifying consensus was forming. We were no longer alone in the universe, and the first contact might not be a conversation, but an evaluation. As the speculation reached a boiling point, a bold team at the SETI Institute decided to take a risk no one else would. They transmitted a focused radio pulse directly toward 3I Atlas's projected location. The message contained universal mathematical constants, the periodic table, and basic visual representations of humanity. A cosmic handshake, a cautious hello. Days passed, then a week, with no response. Just as the experiment was about to be archived as another unanswered call into the dark, one of the monitoring stations in Chile registered something strange. A narrow-band return pulse, off-frequency and distorted, but unmistakably timed to mirror the original message. It wasn't a reply in language, nor an echo. It was a ping, a return signal with just enough variance to imply it wasn't passive reflection. It had been processed and sent back. What shook the SETI team most wasn't the signal itself, but the timing. The response came precisely 72 hours after transmission, to the second. It meant something had not only received our message, but had calculated the delay and answered deliberately. Following the detection of this return ping, observatories globally began experiencing technical anomalies. Webb's infrared instruments showed erratic thermal mapping for the first time since launch. Hubble's gyroscopic sensors registered microfluctuations despite stable orientation. Ground-based telescopes experienced what were initially dismissed as software glitches, misaligned star charts, inexplicable pixel distortions, and frozen data streams precisely when focused on 3I Atlas. These glitches didn't happen randomly. They occurred in synchronized windows, as if coordinated, as if someone or something didn't want us looking too closely. A theory emerged from a Black Ops think tank deep within the European Space Agency. The object wasn't just emitting signals, it was selectively jamming us. The implications were staggering. A passive visitor doesn't hide its identity. A scout does. If the object was actively managing what we could see and when, then we weren't watching it. We were being allowed to. Then came silence. Within days of the signal event and technical malfunctions, updates from Webb were delayed, restricted, and eventually rerouted. Public logs became inaccessible. The European Space Agency released a vague statement about instrument recalibration. NASA simply stopped commenting. Even reputable journals that had closely covered 3I Atlas began retracting stories or publishing neutral summaries. The astrophysics community was split. Some believed agencies were validating the discovery before going public. Others believed something far darker, that the truth had been confirmed and was now being contained. The few remaining independent observatories began releasing raw data streams, but these were quickly drowned in misinformation and speculation. They weren't looking for communication anymore. They were looking for proof of intent. That's when they discovered the most terrifying pattern of all. The object's path through the solar system, while seemingly natural, mirrored a Fibonacci arc when plotted against planetary positions, an ancient spiral of proportional beauty found throughout nature, and coincidentally, in many Earth-based communication protocols. Furthermore, the timing of its course corrections, the light flares, and even the ping response correlated with prime number sequences. The odds of this occurring naturally were astronomically low. These patterns were chosen. It meant this object, 3i Atlas wasn't just flying through the solar system. It was navigating with mathematical precision, as if following a map or a schedule. A few theorists now whispered the unthinkable. This might not be an interstellar probe, but an interstellar message, not made of sound or symbols, but of behavior. And we had just decoded the first word. As the dust of confusion began to settle, one truth remained impossible to ignore. 3i Atlas was never just a rock. From the unnatural light it emitted to the signal it returned, from the rare materials to the calculated change in trajectory, every piece of this enigma pointed to a single uncomfortable conclusion. We have not been alone for a very long time, and perhaps we were never meant to know. The James Webb Telescope, built to peer into the birth of galaxies, may have instead caught a glimpse of something designed to look back, something ancient, deliberate, and watching, not from the safety of a distant star system, but from the threshold of our own celestial neighborhood. And yet, silence reigns. The agencies refuse to speak. The data is withheld. The world, it seems, has been deemed not ready. But we saw the light. We tracked the path. And now we ask the question that terrifies even the most rational minds. What happens next? Was 3i Atlas simply passing through, cataloging our little world before continuing its voyage? Or was it merely the first of many, a probe leading the way for something greater, something waiting for a signal to move forward? In the end, it may not matter whether 3i Atlas was machine or something else entirely. What matters is that it came, it saw, and it responded. And now, somewhere in the cold, endless dark, something may be turning its attention toward the blue planet that blinked first. The countdown perhaps has already begun, and the universe once again reminds us, we are not the center, we are the observed.